For those of you who don't know me yet, my name is Dr. Roderick Sampson, and I wanted to share with you how I got started with this business and why I'm so passionate about the sailboat propellers that I sell. I'm originally from the north of England. It's a border town very close to Scotland, and at 18 I landed a job as a cruise ship photographer. A young lad from a gritty steel town who had only seen Americans in movies. It was like going to space or something. I worked 26 ships in 10 years. I had a blast, but the party sadly had to end. And I remember being down the engine room, baking hot potatoes on the engine manifolds with the engineers, as one did. And they were like, you keep all the photographic equipment going, you spend all your spare time down here, why not come back as one of us? So that's what I did. I returned to the UK to go to college. With the dream of going back to sea as an engineer. What I didn't realise at the time was that my creative instincts from my photography career would champion working on, well, basically oily engines. And despite the draw of going back to sea, I switched my major to the design side and I chose Naval Architecture. My bachelor's led to my master's, and before long I was finishing my PhD teaching and running a research lab. My ship career had literally sailed off into the sunset. But as luck would have it, I was offered a position in Baltimore to work on the US Coast Guard icebreaker program. And I took it just as the credit crunch hit and the government contracts dried up. I was so close. Fortunately, I met my now wife Lisa and we started a consultancy called King Propulsion. So for me personally, I'd always wanted to be self-employed and work on my own terms. And this really was my chance to do this. Starting the company was not just about being my own boss though. I also had some personal goals as well. My childhood was great fun, but it was very financially challenged. My mum went back to school, finished high school, college, and I got a teaching certificate and became the breadwinner for the family. That was pretty amazing. So at this time we were always scraping by and making do, you know. Starting my own business was a way to show that I could stand on my own and be financially independent and provide for my own family now. There were, however, some niggling thoughts on my journey, and a little self-doubt, if you will. I totally thought university was my calling after leaving the heyday of cruise ships. It was supposed to be my reboot, if you would. If I'm honest, there was always something missing from the academic research lifestyle. So I took a journey with King Propulsion. Initially, it was out of necessity. I was in a bind from the credit crunch, and after just moving to the US, I knew it was the right thing to do. I didn't know the direction of the company. I had a vague business plan. I had some experience and absolutely zero startup cash. But I knew it was non-negotiable and I took the leap. In all the years of doing this, and we've been going 7 or 8 years now, the biggest limitation to the business from the beginning has been false beliefs. The propeller market's driven by salespeople selling product they may know from an operator's perspective, but not an engineer's. And people often believe their local mechanic over everything, not even a guy with a PhD in propellers and the real world ship experience to back it up. And that's been really hard. It's really hard, that one. But like everything in my life, I've been all in with my business. It's very much like the Greeks, you know. I burned my boats on the beach, giving up cruise ships in university and contracting for the government for something I really believed in. And there really was no going back to those career paths. Now, King Propulsion seems very focused right now, but it wasn't always this way. The foundations were laid with getting to know my PhD mentor and good friend, Professor Mehmet Atler. Working at the university prior to setting up King Propulsion, I ran a research lab for him, a cavitation tunnel. And I was drawn to high efficiency, low drag, hydrodynamic projects. We were a great team and especially good at solving the projects that nobody else could solve. Now the turning point came, if I can remember this correct, it was from the unlikeliest of sources. King Propulsion was just getting off the ground, so I would fly back and forth from Baltimore to Newcastle at this time, and I would every couple of months for a week or two to help train the staff in the university for Professor Atler. On the first trip back, I remember I was helping someone with one of the water turbine tests, I'm not sure if you've seen these devices. They pull energy from the tidal current, and they kind of work backwards to a propeller. With the propeller, you drive the propeller. The turbine test, the flow drives the turbine. Now, one of the challenges with the turbine test is the self-start, and what causes the turbine to get going, if you would, and do its magic. One of the designs was mounted on the dynamometer to measure the loads, and we were increasing the flow to get it to start. It was a little troublesome to get going, so kept increasing the flow, nothing, increasing the flow, nothing, until this thing started. It took off like a freight train, and it destroyed itself in seconds. It's very, very rare for a failure to come in these tests, but when they do come, they're very spectacular. Water can be pretty powerful stuff. Now, to investigate why this happened, because we were new to turbine testing, we ran tests with a regular fixed pitch propeller. Same setup, increasing the water to measure the starting torque versus the flow, so we get some sort of a benchmark. At a certain point, the propeller started to leisurely, if it would, yeah, it was leisurely, start to rotate, and the loads we were measuring dropped significantly. And I always remember, there were several sailors in the group, and they all started a debate about sailing with the propeller in gear or sailing with the propeller out of gear to go faster when you're under sail, you know, which one gave the lowest drag. If they'd smoked pipes, chuff chuff, it would have been one of those thoughtful moments. And I don't think it was officially decided until in the pub that night, of course, and I actually learned about folding propellers and the benefits. I'd never heard of them. I was so intrigued by this flow effect my PhD was on blocked propeller flow. It was a huge light bulb went off, just how critical propeller drag was for a sailboat. And I just realised that every sailboat should have a folding propeller. So armed with this, I literally dropped everything for my business, and I refocused my direction to folding sailboat propellers. Through my connections with Brunson's Propellers, I was able to take the dealership for Varifold folding propellers in the US, and I finally had clarity. I then set about creating a media platform. I set up a studio in the spare room, where we are now, taught myself the green screen, and started making videos, blogging, and kind of getting an online presence. The upside is that I'm now able to work with clients who like me and who want to work with me. And I'm definitely odd in my market. I'm the propeller guy who knows about sailboats, not a sailor that has some experience with propellers. And I freely admit this. Hydrodynamics are really my thing. When the sails come down, really that's when my job starts. And this has allowed me to teach clients so they know exactly what they're buying and empower them to make the right decision for them. I mean, putting the clients first is what it's all about. It's tremendously important to us. The upside is the right people get the right product, so our clients totally understand what they're purchasing, and it adds tremendous value and tremendous happiness. Now, I can't say I've achieved my goals just yet, but I'm on the right path. I feel more fulfilled. I mean, I gambled everything on this business and emerged two very different career paths, and I know I'm starting to put the woes from my upbringing to rest, and I'm still very, very much on the journey. And the bottom line is, I'm really excited to see where the business and ultimately where my clients will take us. So that's my little story. Please stay tuned for more. Thanks for watching.